If you're always confused about which French verbs use êTRE instead of avoir in le passé composé, the first reason why is because no one taught you the Dr. Mrs. Vandertramp secret that makes it impossible to forget. You've probably been memorizing random lists, getting frustrated when you can't remember if partie uses avoir or êTRE, or worse, you've been guessing and getting it wrong. But what if I told you there's a simple memory trick that makes this automatic? By the end of this awesome video, you'll never second guess êTRE verbs again because you will have a foolproof system. Plus, I have an incredible story quiz where you'll spot êTRE verbs like a detective. And you also get a free practice PDF with everything we covered today. If you would love to get the free practice PDF, all you need to do is input your name and email address in the link in the description box below, and today's guide will be sent directly to your inbox. Vous êtes prêts? C'est parti! First of all, Dr. Mrs. Vandertramp isn't a real person, okay? It is what we call a memory device. A memory device is a special trick that helps your brain remember information more easily. Think of it like creating a song to remember your phone number, or making up a story to remember a shopping list. There's this one that sticks in my head and I still use it till today. 30 days at September, April, June, and November, etc, etc. Do you see? So with that, I can never forget. Actually, I do forget, which I always have to tell myself, okay, Sumo, how many days do we have in September or November? So that's something like what I mean by memory device, okay? So they basically turn hard to remember lists into something simple and unforgettable. Okay, did we clear that up? Great. So Dr. Mrs. Vandertramp is a memory device that French teachers use to help students remember the 16 verbs that use êTRE instead of avoir in le passé composé. So each letter in Dr. Mrs. Vandertramp represents a verb. D stands for devenir. R, revenir. M, mûrir. R, retourner. S, sortir. V, venir. A, arriver. N, naître. D, descendre. I, entrer. R, rentrer. T, tomber. R, rester. E, aller. M, monter. And P, partir. Okay, so you've seen it all, but here's what's brilliant. These aren't just random verbs. They all share something in common that makes perfect sense once you see the pattern. Now, every single one of these verbs involves either movement or change of state. Watch this. Imagine someone is going somewhere. What do I say? Je suis allé. That's I went. So the person is moving. Or imagine someone left somewhere. I could say elle est partie. Or imagine a guy just arrived. I can say il est arrivé. Now let's imagine people are entering and exiting. I can say nous sommes entrés. Or I want to say somebody went out, tu es sorti. Or let's say I just returned home. I can say je suis rentré. Now let's imagine somebody is doing up and down movements. I can say elle est montée. Or il est descendu. Or imagine someone fell. Oh, je suis tombé. Now let's look at change of state verbs. Like imagine life changes. So someone is born, I would say elle est née. Or someone dies, you say il est mort. Or let's say you're becoming something, you say je suis devenu. Or somebody is staying in place, I can say nous sommes restés. So do you see it? Every single verb involves your body or state changing position or condition. If you got to this point in this lesson, I want you to comment, I see the pattern, so you can lock in this understanding. The pattern just makes everything click. Now you might be asking, okay, Sumo, thank you. I think I understand this a bit, but what exactly is êTRE and how do we use it? How did you form it? Let me help you out. So before we talk about agreements, let me explain what êTRE actually is and how these sentences are built. êTRE means to be in English. And just like in English language, you have to conjugate it. And that just means to change its form depending on who we're talking about. So please take a look at this table. If I want to conjugate the verb êTRE in the present tense, I would say je suis, which is the present tense of I am, is I am. Tu es, you are. Il ou elle est, he is or she is. Nous sommes, we are, that's a plural version. Vous êtes, you are, plural as well. Ils ou elles sont, they are, plural version. If you wanted to conjugate the same êTRE in the past tense, it would be j'ai été. Tu as été. Il ou elle a été. Nous avons été. Vous avez été. Ils ou elles ont été. And for the future tense, je serai. Tu seras. Il ou elle sera. nous serons, vous serez, ils seront ou elles seront. Okay, so now you know how to conjugate êtres in the present tense, the past tense, and the future tense. Now, when we use Dr. Mrs. Vandertramp verbs in the passé composé, here's the formula. We have the subject plus êtres in the present tense plus the past participle. So let me show you how exactly je suis allé is constructed, okay? Let's use that sentence as an example. Step 1, you start with the subject je. So you can see it on the screen, je. Step 2, you add êtres in the present tense, which is what? Je suis. Remember from the table we just looked at? Good. Step 3, add the past participle of the verb aller. Remember to conjugate it, it becomes aller as well. So you just take off the R and you add the accent on the E. And step 4, you have your results. Je suis allé. You see? If you're feminine, you have to have 2 E's, but if it's masculine, you have just 1 E. Becomes what? Je suis allé. That's exactly how to form it. Easy peasy. Let's look at another example, okay? Just to make sure you understand it. Let's say step 1 is elle, which of course you already know is a subject pronoun. Now, step 2, what would that be in êtres for present tense? It becomes elle, correct? Remember in the table I showed to you? Step 3, we're looking at the verb partir. What's the past participle of partir? Good, partir. So what did you do? You've conjugated that verb. And step 4 becomes what? Exactly, elle est partie. That's it. You have already conjugated it. So do you see, je suis allé just means I went. So je suis allé au supermarché. I went to the supermarket. Do you see? And elle est partie just means she left. You see? So you have conjugated it in the past tense. And that's why we're using êtres instead of avoir. So remember, it's movement. Je suis allé, I move. That's why they call it movement verb. Movement verbs are the only verbs that use êtres. Now, let's take a look at the agreement rules. And I know this is a tricky part. Unlike avoir verbs, the past participle must agree with the subject. Let's take a look at these 2 sentences. The first is Marc est parti, right? Or il est allé. You've seen? This is how we're going to write them, just masculine singular sentences. Now, let's take a look at the feminine version, okay? Feminine singular sentences. It becomes what? Sophie est partie, elle est allée. Do you see the difference? You have to add an E. That's why I told you that it agrees with the subject. So the E, you notice that for the first sentence for Mark, masculine sentences, there was no E there. But the feminine sentences, you need to add an E. Now let's look at the masculine plural. It becomes les garçons sont partis or ils sont allés. Have you seen the change here now? Good. An S was added because we're talking about masculine plural. So there has to be an S. And now let's look at the feminine plural sentences. It becomes les filles sont parties and elles sont allées. Do you see the difference here? We have to add an ES to each of them. So remember, masculine singular, nothing added. Feminine singular, we add an E. Masculine plural, we add an S. Feminine plural, we add an E and an S. If you're thinking, okay, wow, some more things, so how do I remember? Can you give me like a memory trick for agreement? I gotcha. Think of it like matching outfits. The past participle has to dress to match who is doing the action. So this might be weird, but let's think of it like this. Boys wear nothing extra. Like we looked at the verb partie. So nothing, you add nothing. But the girls wear an E, which is why you have partie with an E. Now let's say the group of boys wear S. This is for the masculine plural. So you have to have partie with an S. And the group of girls wear ES, which is why we have partie. Same pronunciation, but we just have to add an E and an S. Now, let me save you from some of the mistakes I made and some of the ones that I have seen some of my students make. Mistake number 1, using avoir instead of êtres. So for example, somebody could say, j'ai allé. That is wrong. It's always je suis allé. Remember, it's a movement verb. You're doing something, you went. Mistake 2, forgetting the agreement. I can never say this sentence, Marie est allée, without putting what? The agreement. It's missing the feminine E. The correct sentence will be what? Marie est allée. Yes, pronunciation is the same. Remember, when you're typing or you're writing, you always have to agree. Mistake 3, confusing similar verbs. Sorti sometimes uses avoir when it means to take out. So for example, I can say, j'ai sorti le chien. And this just means I took the dog out. So obviously you have to use avoir. But if you want to say, I went out, je suis sorti, you have to use être. If Sumo is the one speaking, I have to add an E, je suis sorti. But if it's a male that is speaking, je suis sorti without the E. So please just remember, when you move, use être. When you move something else, use avoir. And now it's time to become an êtres detective. I'm going to tell you all about Emma's adventure to Paris. And your mission today is to spot all the Dr. Mrs. Vandertramp verbs. Emma's Paris adventure. Elle est née à Londres, mais elle est devenue amoureuse de Paris. L'année dernière, elle est partie de Londres et est arrivée à Paris en train. Elle est montée dans un taxi et elle est allée à son hôtel. Le premier jour, elle est sortie pour explorer la ville. Elle est entrée dans le Louvre et est restée 3 heures à admirer l'art. Quand elle est descendue dans le métro, elle est tombée amoureuse de l'atmosphère parisienne. Après une semaine, elle est retournée à Londres, mais elle est revenue à Paris 3 mois plus tard pour devenir résidente permanente. Now, pause and count. How many Dr. Mrs. Vandertramp verbs did you find? Make sure you comment your number below. Okay, we're back. Let's take a look at the answers together. So the first one is est née, she was born, which is N for naître. Est devenue, she became, which is what D for devenir. Est partir, which is left, P for partir. Est arrivé, A for arriver. Est monté, M for monter. Est allé, A for what? Aller, good work. Est sortir, which means went out, S for sortir. Est rentré, E for what? Entered. Est resté, that stayed, R for rester. Est descendu, which is went down, D for descendre. Elle est tombée, which is T for tomber. Est retourné, which is R for retourner. And est revenu, which is R for revenir, to come back. That is 13 êtres verbs in one short story. Did you notice they all have feminine agreement because Emma is female? If you got this far, bravo. Just do like this to yourself. You've done well today. You've just mastered the Dr. and Mrs. Vandertramp and can now spot êtres verbs like a pro. So let's take a look at a quick recap. All Dr. and Mrs. Vandertramp verbs involve movement or change. They all use êtres instead of avoir. The past participle must agree with who is doing the action. And remember what I taught you? Think matching outfits for agreements. Remember what I said at the beginning? You can grab your free PDF guide in the link in the description box below. All you need to do is input your name and email address and it'll be sent directly to your inbox. It includes the complete Dr. and Mrs. Vandertramp chart with examples, Emma's full story with detailed analysis, 20 additional practice sentences, agreement rules reference guide, memory tricks and visual aids, and answer key with explanations. If you would love to discover some of the most common and useful expressions using the verb être, along with tips to use them naturally in conversations, then you should definitely check out the next video. Whether you're a beginner or an intermediate learner, these expressions will definitely elevate your French to the next level. And if this video made êtres verbs finally click for you, please hit the like button and subscribe for more French grammar made simple. Also, share this with your friends so they can finally understand how to use Dr. Mrs. Vandertramp. Until I see you in the next video, bonne journée!